Welcome, guys. It's now what we're on the 12th of the 5th, 2023. This is a GPMS open Q&A. We've had this out in the wild, so to speak, for the last, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks. Let's see what discussion tonight's meeting or today's or this morning's, well, depending on where you are in the world, brings. I literally open the floor to anyone to ask any questions, unless, brother, you would like to start this off with an update from yourself. That may be good. You have to excuse my voice a little bit. I'm a bit croaky as well at the moment, so we'll continue.
Thank you, brother, and nice to see all of you here. And with any sort of an update, let's say GPMS is very powerfully and rapidly moving forward. And where Lee is at currently, this is so instrumental in many respects. And it's also instrumental in kicking off more of the virality point. So without going too much into detail with that, we are persevering and, just going so quickly forward. I believe it'd be a great opportunity, Lee, what we just spoke about, several of the factors, that in different countries, if you wish, just these are indicators that we're seeing as well, which supports what we're doing.
Yeah, okay. So at the moment, let's just talk about the Philippines for a minute, and then we'll give a bit more of an overview. Their Senate here is trying to push through a bill which says that they will go into a full lockdown and give the police authority to arrest anybody unvaxxed and or not fully boosted. This also gives them the authority to shut off all internet connection and all social connection, and basically lock the whole country down and then go door to door to find those that are not compliant. There's a large uprising here, or a large standpoint against this. The people here know who's perpetrating this, and this is ongoing. So they realize in the Philippines as well, GPMS, this has been brought to their attention and they see it, which is awesome. I was told yesterday that this is the messaging that they're giving now to the people here. Excuse me while I mute some more of our new joiners. There we go. Can the people who join from India, especially, please mute your microphones when you enter? That would be wonderful. Thank you. They're giving the messaging that they've taken the governments down a few times over here, but they've always given it to the wrong people. And then the new governments have reverted back to exactly what the old ones have done. So they see now GPMS as an option, that their exit strategy is what they've called it. And this is going viral across the Philippines. There's many, many meetings happening here. Now, what we're seeing as well in what we spoke to with Rick a bit earlier is the demolition, the economic demolition of the West. This is happening in multiple ways. You're seeing in the Netherlands and different countries where they're reducing food crops massively. I'm not going to go into the Z-bugs and all of these things that they're trying to get into people, but there's an economic demolition ongoing in the West, and there's a medicinal demolition ongoing in the East, where there is a complete control structure. As the narrative controllers want to take the power from the West, which they own anyway, what they're doing is it's a power shift, but what they're doing is pushing it under a medical banner in the East. So as the East grows, they're suppressing it with the medical. And as the West fails, we're seeing the collapse of the economies to be replaced by the Eastern powers. Of course, that's all under the auspices of medicine or pharmaceuticals. So what we're watching right now is the collapse, or the game on the lower timeline, showing itself to everybody in different countries in different ways. I think Germany's doing it on heating. UK's done it on many, many different ways. Police powers now to arrest anybody who protests. There was somebody reading a Bible outside a clinic the other day, and they got arrested for a protest reading the Bible on their own. One constitutes a protest now, and that will then go against them, and they can't have a job effectively. So in all of these different countries, we're seeing different ways. Of course, Africa is slightly different. That's a quick overview. You can see it happening in America, the demolition of the dollar. 180 days now, they're saying possibly they will bring in where you can't actually take out any cash. Of course, most in the West now already know that they're trying to move to a central bank digital currency, removing all of these freedoms, if you will. So we can see this ongoing on that lower timeline. Of course, this is all imploding to a point where GPMS is the inevitable divine option. So I think that will do, brother, for now. We can go into any more detail we wish as the conversation moves forward. If there's anything you'd like to add.
Yeah, we could fill in some more later if we have the chance. So do you have another co-host on here to assist you with administration yet?
I thought it would be easy
don't-
to add a co-host, but apparently it's not so easy. So no, but it's okay.
All right, great.
And
I can multitask.
And I'm on my phone, Rick, so I can't help him. My computer's getting fixed. It'll be sorted for tomorrow.
It's okay. We'll just see how we get on.
Yeah. So great with that. So now, where are we going to be receiving the questions from? We'd rather not in the chat, or if one decides they can, put it in the chat, but we'll monitor that, several of us, to see if any questions arise. So this is a worldwide
Oh, I see
opportunity.
Elizabeth. I see Elizabeth has her hand up. So maybe we'll let me just remove Jitterack for a second, remove pin and put Elizabeth at pin. There you go. Let's start like that. Elizabeth, you have your hand up. What would you like to ask? Good morning.
I was just going to, good morning. I was just going to say, could we all just raise our hand to ask a question? Because then you can visually see that someone has a question.
That works easily for me. That's how we normally
that way
do
you're
it.
You're not
Yeah.
inundated with so many. I guess the burning question that I've had is how are you going to disseminate the information as it comes down? Will we continue to have meetings like this, or will you send out an email, or what's your best mode of communication with everyone, or all of us together?
So as it stands, we've got the contributors group, we've got the contributors link. So those that wish to vote, just vote, consent. And those that wish to contribute, there's a secondary form. Now, this form is going to be changed. We're going to make it simpler to become a contributor. What we agreed at the beginning was those who consent haven't consented to receive email information. So we're not going to spam people with emails or updates. But those who have agreed to contribute, we can openly send emails and updates and newsletters to those. We're still developing email teams. This is ongoing. And we've been having contributors meetings every week for the last, I don't know how long, and many other meetings. All of these have been recorded and all of these are on the YouTube channel. Not all are available for the public. Because they, if the public are going to the YouTube to see what GPMS is, they don't need to see the mechanisms or the machinations of what it is that we're speaking about, just a more general overview. How this moves forwards and progresses, we're it's all organic. So getting the information out to people is via the country teams. This is what we're looking for. So country team representatives will disseminate the information through their own countries. As these ones step forward and step up into their teams, then they can disseminate as well. So it's not really how we're going to do it, it's how all of us are going to do it, and what's the best way we can find, as opposed to us thinking about it. It's what comes more organic in the moment, and the dissemination through the country teams by country representatives seems to be the natural way.
Okay, thank you for answering my question. And now I'm gonna lower my hand since I'm done. And thank you very much.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And thank you so much, Elizabeth, for being the prime example of how this works. And for anyone on your screen, just go to your reactions, and that's where you can raise your hand from. So there's a reactions at least on the laptop icon, that you go there and raise your hand to speak. In relation to what Elizabeth just asked, as Lee said with the emails, so we also have a newsletter that is going out weekly, and that includes a refreshed update, if you will, of the proceedings that occurred in the last week with GPMS. Also at any given times, and I've done this in the past, where GPMS is fully transparent and public, there are such things which you could call public announcements and public updates as well. So we utilize these methods, and as Lee mentioned as well, we leave it, we do our part, for example, I and Lee as guardians and others, to just share information publicly and transparently as it comes out. However, having said this, each one that joins GPMS is a member and an equal member of it, and also can take the place of a guardian of it as well. And we have that ongoing. We don't restrict this. And, just hypothetically, if you will, when we get, let's say, 2 billion people on board, you you actually could have 1 billion guardians, if you will. We have a lot of children, but just to, put the point there of how equal this is, and it has to be for the equal world that we are creating, and the respect of each one's individual voice and their individual autonomy. Thank you.
Elizabeth, one thing I didn't mention was that we have at the moment a main hub on Telegram for the contributors, where a lot more information goes into there as a central hub to be disseminated. Of course, not everybody's on Telegram and not everybody can, but we can't, again, we've got to grow it from where we can. And that was the given platform that we chose at the beginning, mainly because of the other nefarious censorship and other things. So that still sits in place. There is a Facebook page where information is shared too, but the main communication hub is on Telegram.
Yeah, on that
Thank
as
you.
well.
Thank you.
On that as well, guys, the Facebook groups of GPMS, there seems to be a natural course where certain individuals are opening up GPMS groups on Facebook for each country at the moment as well.
Yes.
So maybe read and have a look and see if you can find one on Facebook for your country as well as the main one.
Yeah, and this is the organic nature to which this progresses, is ones will start to unite, start to create their own country groups. I know GPMS Philippines right now is very active. I wonder why. But these things are ongoing. So these groups will organize themselves organically as they come up. And then, self-governing, self-autonomy. These are the beautiful words that we're using inside of this. So naturally, these things will happen. We got Beatrice there, self-governing or autonomous in Canada. Again, GPMS Canada organized around her. It's just beautiful to see. Excellent. Brother Rick's gone again. Has anybody else got any questions that they'd like to ask? Somehow I put that. Where did I do that? Participants.
Yeah, it just brings the subject. Is anybody here that hasn't consented to GPMS yet, that's come here to learn more or bring questions to the table to help them to better understand it?
Okay, this looks like it could be a very quick Q&A. Beatrice, you got your hand up. What would you like to say, my dear?
Yeah, good morning or good evening to everyone, independent in what area you are. And so we receive a very good question on Turtle Island, and I would like to discuss with everybody here. It was a little bit on link with the coronation of the King Charles. And the people answer was if they can invoke Magna Carta, because Magna Carta limit the absolute power of the king. And they fear that King Charles will come over them with all the great reset and everything, and they were looking for a solution. So my answer quickly, a little bit about the Magna Carta. Magna Carta, it's about practically the great charter that was brought forward by the royals itself, by the UK royals. So it's not, has nothing to do with we the people. And when the people in the past try to suppress, to limit the power of the UK royals in the world in general. So this has nothing to do with universal natural law, because with universal natural law, with divine law, this King Charles and all the royals, they have no power over the people. And GPMS.world supports divine law. It is all about universal natural law. So it is the real shift of the power towards the people, the 99%. So King Charles is just another individual that will have a right of only one vote among other 6 billion or how many people there will be, or if will be found as criminal in the future, will have practically no reason to vote, will have no power even of the vote. So the people concerned, because right now it's like a taking over again over Canada, United States, all this area, because right now also even that King Charles is not coming as royalty, official royalty towards the United States, this influence a lot. So the people started to see a little bit what influence will be in Canada and also other countries, because right now we have this coronation in place. So the people needs to know something also. We have God, creator, given unalienable rights. So we are born with these rights. UK royals has absolutely nothing to do with our unalienable rights that we have to the moment of our conception, and nobody can give us rights, because these UK royals, they are not our God, they are not our creator, and has nothing to do with finally the human race. So Lee, if you want to add something more about Magna Carta, or Rick, this will be just amazing. Thank you.
For I, Beatrice, I've dismissed the Magna Carta a long time ago as anything with solidity, because it got lost in legality. I don't speak to royals. I speak to those acting as if they are. These aren't kings or queens. They have no standing and no status. It's fake for me, completely and utterly. So no, I've got no question for you, my dear. I don't have any fear about what they're attempting to do on that lower timeline. It all implodes very, very soon.
Yeah. What I will say on this is that the people have the absolute power. The only thing that distinguished in the past a ruler or a king was their wealth, you know, their stock of gold or what have you. However, what GPMS does, it recognizes everyone as equal. So a King Charles figure is only another person, another soul. The King Charles does not have any superiority over people. We are all equal. And, you know, it's been written and in many places and prevalent over time for this very time that, you know, in the course upon the planet, when there was complete tyranny and, let's say, dictatorship, the onus is on the people. They are the absolute power. So the obligation and responsibility is on the people to take control of everything upon the planet. And this is what's occurring. And with this, it is GPMS again, it is the peaceful move to do that. And it is the superior law when the people, what we're doing, are all joined together and documenting it, all of the agreements and adding it up. It's incontestable as well. So we're doing this as a whole. And what this does, any of the wealth from any kings or queens, or if you will, any cabal, it's worthless right at this point because GPMS exists. So when you have the past rulers and governments and the central banks creating money, when we're equal to them, which we are right now, or even above, we have the same full ability and lawful capacity to create money. So what occurs is their stores of wealth, like precious metals and GDPs and all of these other factors that they had, it becomes worthless. It has no value. And what we're doing is we activate the intrinsic value of every soul, which is their God sovereign rights, if you will. And so it cannot be, there is nothing more powerful than the individual intrinsic rights and the choice to all come together to do what is right upon the planet. So GPMS also essentially, it just makes money the same way money is created now. However, it uses money as the full tool to advance humanity forward in the absolute place of comfort. So it's the exact opposite of what was here now. Yeah, Lee, go ahead.
Yeah, the inversion. So I've been told that where I am now in the Philippines, this is one of the wealthiest countries in the world, if not the wealthiest, and there's no way people will lose that. People will let go of their shiny things and their money, their gold. That's not the case. This is not true. They are happy to let go of it. They found something else to unite to that releases money for everybody. They've only been holding it because in their old system they needed to. So even there's a sovereign country here that can print its own money. I meet with them in a couple of weeks. I believe they're on board with GPMS too, as a sovereign country that's printing its own money. They're saying we'll join with GPMS as well. They see. So what we're seeing is a progression in the consciousness from what was to what will be. And these old, let's say, ideologues, this old methodology is being dropped. People are seeing that there is a new way. They're not going to go, once you realize what GPMS is, you don't go back to a Magna Carta or a constitution. Saying that, though, Beatrice, what they have got here is a Lemurian archipelago constitution for the indigenous peoples, which has been agreed through an IPRA law, which they inserted here in 97, I believe. They've got 3,000 at the moment, what do they call them? Customary lawyers that are versed in natural law, albeit their own constitution that they've written with natural divine law in mind. It's called their constitution, and they're utilizing it now against their own senators to state that their 30 million indigenous people are being abused by the system, even though the system gave them this right. So all of this is aligning straight to GPMS too, and they see it. So if I can, or when I can, I'll get you a copy of this constitution that they've got here. And see how it aligns with you over there. And you may be able to use it as a resistance piece in Canada for a wee while, should that be necessary divinely.
If I may, at this point, this is very substantial, as what Lee was just indicating and touching on. This is such an important point where Lee is at now with our Philippine brothers and sisters. And the reason is they have gone through all of the trials and errors and experiences with trying to create their freedom. So they have done it all. They've been through it all, and they know that it doesn't work. With their sovereignty, with their autonomy, because the outside world is still a force upon them. However, they are at the point, as a result of that, they're able to see fully as an autonomous group that GPMS is the absolute solution. Now, having said this, right at this current time, the Philippines is the peer for this, and they are the path shower for all of the other sovereign autonomous groups around the world, because all of these other individual sovereign groups are all threatened to some degree at this time. There is no security. And so with this, by the Philippines being the peer and the example of stepping up to the plate from the sovereign theme, this is very instrumental for GPMS and the rest of the sovereign indigenous groups, autonomy groups. They must follow and they must converge. Now, having said this, they are also keeping a watch and I myself have been feeding, some of the update and information to some of the sovereign ones with no reply back. Nevertheless, I keep showing them, I keep saying, look, look, look. But eventually and inevitably, they have to come forward and converge with what we're doing.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I mean,
add a little bit more. Wait a minute, Lee, just 2 minutes. Add a
Go on,
little bit
go on.
more to that in the sense of the sovereignty groups around the world that are still going through a little bit of a release within themselves. Anybody in here that is involved or has brought GPMS to sovereign groups, continue to keep looking and viewing what's occurring in the Philippines as we keep moving forward. And like,
so 2 seconds, Dean. 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Mute.
Yeah.
Hang on, brother. Hang on. Go on. Keep going. Can we just again ask that all that join mute their microphones, please? Our brothers and sisters from India, I love you dearly, but keep having to mute you because you interfere with the speech. It's not fun. Thank you.
And on that note, as Rick has stated, so if you've been dealing with sovereign groups like myself and I have in England and other areas, like Rick has just stated, he keeps sending the information through to the sovereign groups he's been dealing with, and as will I. So anybody else here that has been dealing with sovereign groups and not getting much success, as we keep getting more information that's coming through from the Philippines, I would ask everyone to pass that information and show the sovereign groups that you have been dealing with along the way, and let's see what occurs from it.
Yeah, perfect. I anticipate quite a bit of update coming from here over the next few weeks. I don't say too much yet because I don't say too much yet. Just enough for now to keep. It is what it is here, and it will grow huge. So getting this information out to others, we know that there's a herd mentality, even if there shouldn't be. We don't need to judge it as what it is, but once they see what's happening in the Philippines and how the Philippines are moving away from what was, uniting to what will be, this will allow other groups in divinely. So yes, it's very, very important.
Not what will be, what already is.
Yeah, we actually talking about the Philippines. Like I don't care at all. I live in Europe. I have a fine life, and this shit, I don't care at all. To be honest, look at me. I'm pretty fine. I'm pretty dark. Yeah, I'm very dark right now, but I'm fine.
Gabriel, brother, you got your voice mixed so bad that we can't hear you. We couldn't make out what it was you were saying. Under what, you got a voice changer, voice or nice. Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm a Zoom bomber. Like I'm a Zoom bomber. You gotta kick me right now before I screw up all this.
Can't understand you, brother. Can anybody else understand him?
We are.
Okay, beautiful.
Well, let Lee get this cleaned up here a little bit. So, so this is what you're seeing is the darkness, the great fear in them to come on to try to distract and distort. And having said this, this is the only vain, futile thing that the darkness can attempt to do is just throw wrenches in it. But having said this, we are omnipotent, and this brings in the divine level to GPMS, where there is nothing that the darkness can do. So in this great time, if you will, as well, with the sovereignty, especially in Canada, I'm speaking to, they need to step up and unite worldwide. And in the beginning of the Zoom meeting, what Lee was touching on, worldwide, in every country, every government around the world, there is this evil network that is all interconnected, and any sovereign group in one country is no good. This will not work. It has to be the worldwide unity of the people right now to remove that.
Kill yourself. Kill yourself now.
So it's important that all unite at this time, and you know, it's no time to be complacent nor hesitant. So everyone needs to step up.
It's okay. We'll keep going, brother. I'll just keep removing them.
Yeah, yeah. I see Emily is here. Emily, do you have anything to say, sister, from the USA? Or do we have anyone that has a question? Please put up your hand. Thank you. Cannot hear you, Emily.
Not yet, but Aurora, you've got your hand up. Would you like to ask a question?
Hi, hello, everybody. Good morning. Well, it's morning here in
Oh.
the US. I'm not sure it's afternoon where some of you are. Apparently I have a lot of homework to do because I consented quite a while ago, but I didn't realize where all this was going and how involved it is. I have a bright shining friend over in the UK. Her name is Lisa McQueenie. She's wonderful, and she's been promoting you guys all over Facebook, and it's fabulous. But yeah, I apparently have a lot of homework to do, and going to the website, I just found out today, I was today old when I found this out, that there's a group on Telegram, which I'm going to go on and check out and join and stuff. But yeah, I am here in the US, and somebody was talking about people giving up the bright, shiny things. Oh my God, don't even get me started here in the US, because it's all about the newest, latest iPhone, TV, this, that, and the other thing. I go out to the grocery store and things, and there's just, you can see it in people. Well, the adults, you can see it in the adults, that it's just like they're so absorbed in all of it. The children, I noticed that the children, as you're walking around, wherever you are, you could be in the park, the supermarket, wherever you are, I look at kids, they look at me, and it's like we link. This happens to me with plants, animals, and children, and older, like senior citizens. Okay, because they've been here so long that they're just like, yeah, this is over, and here's where we're going. But yeah, so I just have so much love and so much joy for everything that is happening with GPMS. And I have so much work to do, so much homework to do to figure out my part in it and keep that going. Because yeah, this is really wonderful. I am so happy to be here with you guys this morning.
Thank you so much.
Pretty much all I want to say.
We're so happy for you to be here. It's so
Thank you.
so beautiful for new ones to come. I mean, we've been doing this for a while. Let me just say it from my aspect. This has been ongoing for a while, and it's wonderful to see new faces that are already involved with GPMS and just working out, stepping into their role of where they're going to, what they're going to do, and how they're going to do it. I always say to people that your role is what you create. So lots have asked me, what do I do? What is my role? And I said, you're doing it now. You're walking it now. It will just be. But I know Brother Rick's got a different attitude to that. He may give a different answer. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
No, I don't really have a different answer. I was just thinking about what Aura said, about the shiny stuff. We're speaking about your precious metals, but you mentioned like the phones and what have you, with GPMS. And once we have the majority people, we are the actual owners of all the manufacturers that makes all this technology. So it's all shared freely and equally as well. And, if we take the benefits of what a phone with access to internet does, for a child or even anyone, it is one of the most amazing resources of knowledge that is very accessible. So, with all of this technology, we own it all. It becomes free to everyone. See, one of the things what they did, and they cannot get out of this without explaining all of the lawful and technical reasons why. Whenever a company did an IPO, a public offering, and was traded on a stock market, which all major companies are, you know, the support of that investment and money actually came from individuals. So there is a direct, if you will, interest in that through it. And very quickly, again, any contest, if it was ever put up, can be quickly diminished and imploded because there is none. So everything becomes, you know, free like this, and the electric, you know, the free energy, what ones are saying, it happens both ways with GPMS. We own the electrical grid, if you will, so you have no utility bills any longer because we, the people, all own it. But also you have the other aspect of all of the free technology or the free energy devices. So we have all of this happening concurrently. So it's a total win-win situation. And, you know, with the current fossil fuels, I'd like to touch on, we own all of that as well. So, you know, presently, I'll take Canada as an example. I believe it's 49% of the price of a liter of gas is taxes. So let's say if you're paying $2 right now, a liter for gas in Canada, upon implementation of GPMS, it instantly drops to about $1, if you will. But very quickly afterwards, as that short 2-week or month of inventory is used up and appropriated the wealth off of that to the lawful ones that, let's say, had more of an interest in it, then the price of fuel, fossil fuel, becomes absolutely free as well, because again, we own the manufacturing capacity, we own all of this. So this is one of the reasons why everything becomes, if not instantly free, then very rapidly within a month, once the old inventory is appropriated with certain one's lawful wealth, this is part of a quick transitioning period, then all of it does become free. Immediately, what becomes free upon inception is all healthcare worldwide, which is very important. So, you know, there's just the benefits of GPMS. There is no one that can refuse it, if you will, only the darkness themselves that don't want it. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Before we come to you, Elizabeth, I just wanted to add to what Rick is saying. For those that maybe don't realize this yet, once we unlock the financial institutions and unlock the monetary system, anybody that had a business that is essential will be fully remunerated for what it is their stock is. So if they're a vehicle manufacturer, then we simply buy all of their cars and the plant, and whatever money goes to them, they can keep. Then it becomes free for everybody from that point onwards. The same as all of the other equipment that is essential for humanity gets instantly funded fully. So all of the surplus and stock, essential stocks on this planet that is lawful, the owners of that will be suitably monetized for it, if you will, even though it doesn't matter anymore because money is equal for everybody. But I know that many will think, well, I've got this, what, I don't want to lose it all. So we even caters to those who may still have a need to be recompensed in that interim period. So nobody loses anything, everybody gains so much more. Elizabeth, you have your hand up.
Yes, and you did just touch on it, I think, but I wanted to hear a little bit more about the process of how things become free. You said, Rick said something about 49% of a liter is taxes. Is that what makes things free? Because we already are paying taxes, that means we are part owners of it already. Can you go into a little bit of detail about that?
Yeah, and I'll start with that. I mean, nothing would have been built on this planet without humanity, and humanity's labor has been involved with all of it. Humanity are, by God's God-given divine nature, the guardians and owners, with want of a better word, guardians of everything that is here. It's just been obfuscated from humanity into a small echelon of elite, apparently. So, if effectively, once enough of the collective, the energy of the collective comes together, we simply take ownership or guardianship of all of these systems and structures. This includes the banking and the routing systems. The encryption gates will all be unlocked, and each country will have infinite money through an administration to pay for their country's needs, as well as the individual will be given what do we say, 20,000 up front and 10,000 a month for every man, woman, and child. This negates money. But in the interim, what it does is satiates the need right now for a period of transition from from the money to whatever happens in the future. So literally we take the systems, we create a benevolence straight across the systems because humanity choose it energetically. They choose it by consent in a vote, which satisfies the legal system. In humanity doing this as a whole, they also insert divine natural law, which is do no harm at its basis, and any previous laws that are subservient to that are instantly rendered null and void. So this takes and removes legality. This takes and removes so-called laws and the other man-made systems straight into a more divine natural system. At this point, everything becomes open and free. Now, over to you, Rick.
Thank you, brother. Aurora, one of the reasons why what occurs is that upon the inception of GPMS, this is when we begin to distribute the funds to every individual upon the planet and every essential goods and services. Upon the inception, there is no more taxes in anything. So that instantly reflects into an instant price drop. With the GPMS world, taxes do not exist. So that is eliminated out of the cost immediately, instantly upon inception. Now, as we begin to get towards inception, there will be a price index freeze worldwide, because as you know, there'll be ones attempting, and it's already begun to occur, in the US and worldwide, that inflation curve of charging these ridiculous prices. It already began, right? Because they know what is coming. But what you have is greedy ones that are trying to cash in on it now. But one of the greatest stippler with GPMS as well, once we get to the majority and the transition and redemption of old wealth into the new, anyone that facilitated any unlawful attempt to against ones that inflicted greater hardship, their money, the result of their money is not lawful money, so it cannot be redeemed in also to the future, into the new system. Now, what's so important, again, upon inception of GPMS, once we have the majority voice, is the rapid deflation in prices that drops, worldwide. And to add, not only, let's take a gallon or a liter of fuel. So instantly it goes to half because you no longer have any taxes in it, but it goes further because then you have no other expenditures like transport into it, refinery, the workers. There is no payroll because everyone is being paid theirself. And this is what takes the price down to literally nothing with all of the items upon the planet. And what occurs quickly after the inception of GPMS, humanity comes to fully realize and accept that they do not require money at all, and the planet is civilized out of this savage thing. So this is a quick a very rapid transitioning of flipping the tables on the old reality and ushering in the divine assured new reality for humanity, to advance them forward and to open up all of let's say the multiverse contact as well with benevolent beings. And I don't want to go too far into that right now.
Let me just remind Brother Rick that we might use the term plasmaverse. If you remember, brother. But there we go. Did that answer
Not
you,
really,
Elizabeth?
but that's interesting. Yeah, I'll contemplate that. So yeah, any more questions?
Do you not remember that conversation, brother? Oh, it doesn't matter. It's okay.
But the term plasmaverse, I don't recall that, but that's cool.
We'll talk about it again.
Yeah, you know, see, it's also so important with the simplicity and the foundation of natural divine law and autonomy. With this, what we have is do no harm. It's that simple. And by having that statement, what it does also, it nullifies and voids any government's legislation or law that they have, because by creating wealth disparity, it creates poverty, which is an infliction of harm upon ones as well. So again, there is no contest between international law, which is inferior to divine, natural, and the people's law as well. So GPMS just takes all of their laws, all of the past, just out of play. It cannot compete nor even contest against the law of the people combined together as one, as what we're doing. So it's all over for the old. It's just a matter of time, how long it takes in linear time to get everyone to lawfully agree with GPMS, so we get the majority shareholder vote on the planet achieved. Then it's that majority vote. And I love the way Lee explains it with the dissenting shareholders, if you will, and that analogy is great.
Yeah, it's like a worldwide, what was it, a shareholders EAGM, an extraordinary annual general meeting. And basically, humanity will vote out the existing directors of the board and vote in a new set, and then things become different. It's that straightforward on that sort of level. Julie, you have your hand up. Sorry, before we move, Elizabeth, did that answer you?
Yes, thank you. I have a better understanding. I'm going to definitely tune into some meetings to get even more clear. Sorry about my dog.
No, it's all gravy. Julie, over to you.
Hello, everybody. I have a question from a sister who was on Facebook, who's been with GPMS since the very beginning, where we talk about where we need the majority vote, and we're at 40,000. How are we going to get there, and when is the question that she's asking?
Well, the when is a need in the imagination for it. We know it's on divine timing. So how are we going to get there? People will choose it. When they do, and this is when the consciousness is available to stop being fearful and start to be loving and to realize their moral obligation to stand against the evil. What we're witnessing right now is a process where the evil is showing itself. The evil has its foot on the neck of humanity on that lower timeline, and it's not letting off. Humanity, they are squirming underneath it, not knowing that they have a way out. And that's the divine process that we can witness. This is a choice on an individual level. Each and every soul must release their fear and see GPMS for what it is, and see the evil for what it is, and say no more. At that point, GPMS comes to fruition, or comes to inception. Until then, now, what I will say is that quietly, so not many, I mean, I don't know how many are going to listen to this, but let's see. We have millions, millions and millions and millions and millions just in the Philippines. And we're talking to 40 or 50 million here and that's less than half of their population. But that's still millions. Now, they're not consented yet, so I don't talk to that as a fact, even though now with 1 million, 10 million, 25 million, 50 million, does GPMS become more of an option? Is 40,000 too small for some? Do they need to see 10 million? Do they need to see 20 million? These things are ongoing in this divine process where, again, each releases their fear into the benevolence, into the future, and it's less about what they need, or sorry, what they want, less consumerism, less materialism, and more thinking about the children's children as we open up this system and remove this evil that does harm at every level and replace it with a benevolent system. That's what I would say. Over to you, Rick.
You always cover everything so beautifully, and I love how we work like a team. And sometimes Brother Dean comes in to add, so we give every question the fullest what we can give.
I was just about to, Rick, after you.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, but also on another level of getting out there and bringing it to the people. Because if the people don't see it, we've got to make sure they can see this. Everybody's got to be able to see it. So how many of us are going out there or playing the role of showing it to the population, and that's what I would say to the individual in that moment. What are you going to do? Are you going to stand in your own power and your own leadership and make a choice to go and do something? For myself, I've arrived here in Thailand now. It's very simple, old school, just the same as the politicians in Thailand right now are out on the streets telling the people about them and their campaign. Same for me. Once the election's finished, me and Jidarat will be out on them streets doing it in the same old-fashioned way and bringing it to the people and allowing them to see.
Thank you, Dean. Yeah, with this we get this so often, this question, or at least I do. When we use when anyone looks at what GPMS does, it's the heaven on earth scenario for the individual. And, very quickly on the comparison page, everyone is going to choose it. But, having said this, idealistically, when you use the power of the numbers, I believe the power of 3 with this, what Brother Denovan has showed, within a month, you could have the majority voice upon the planet. We could have the majority voice, I believe, in as little as 12 days. And this is what Dean, is also saying. Everyone has to get out there and, give this to the people. Now, there is this little period of the ones that is giving it to be educated to know what it is. But having said this, it is simplified to the most simplest degree that ones are going to choose it. And also with this, what we have is this great awakening upon the planet. It's not happening by chance. It is orchestrated by 2 deep factions, one the dark and one the light. And it is also because of this that the light is omnipotent, which is us. And what we are doing, if you will, is rescuing, you could say, all of humanity out of the last level of hell, out of those confines. And the darkness cannot go forward with it. So it depends upon each one, how quick do they want it to go? If you want it to happen, get out there and spread the awareness. And one of the hindrances, which we are already overcoming, is about 47% of the world's population does not have access to a regular internet, if they have it at all. But what's occurring, and we've already in Thailand as a great example, they have taken their phones, the ones that had internet, and have gone into the fields where the farmers didn't have any of it to get their consent. So what you're going to see occur as well quickly. Ones that do have internet, you know, they'll feel a certain obligation at their soul level to go into these areas where internet and into the impoverished areas, you know, where there is little internet, so that we get these voices of all of these women, man, and importantly, children. So at this point, everyone needs to know every child's voice. If this child is 1 minute old and you're the parent of that child, it is truly your responsibility and your obligation to assure for their future that they are aligned with their best possible future. And having said this, right at this time upon the planet, GPMS is the best possible future for all. And again, everything is orchestrated. So we're taking like what again what Lee had mentioned about Germany. Here we're in Germany. If ones don't change over to new heating, they'll be charged the fines up to as high as 50,000 euros. You know, look at how preposterous and absurd that is. But you're seeing this prevalent in the countries around the world. Like look in the US with rents tripling or even going beyond that, you know, inflicting even more of an extreme hardship and pressure upon people. However, this is divinely allowed to occur because the people need to stand. So it is a partly divinely orchestrated that they do, and this is the inevitability with GPMS. But I'll stop there, Mariana.
2 seconds.
Can I just have a little... Sorry, go on, Leah.
No, go on.
I was just also going to add another little layer to this in the sense of the energy as well, guys. Any of you that have actually been out there and tried to talk to people, and it's been quite a struggle when it comes to the energy of it, it's very different right now. Very, very, very different energy. I have never seen the energy as clear, and the information is clearly taken. Whether they sign in that moment, it makes no difference, but you're just not going to get the friction of rah or anger or pointing the finger at you right now. I lived 2 hours before this call. I sat in this hotel where I'm currently at in Thailand, talked to 6 individuals, 2 from Sweden, 2 from America, and 1 from England, and 3 of them consented their voice while I was sat at the table in front of me. It's that simple, guys. Don't be afraid anymore to talk.
Perfect, brother. And what I was going to say was about these fines and this imposition of fines and taxation, but let's just talk about fines. This is a moral evil. This is a corporate enslavement of the people underneath a fine mechanism. They're cutting the people off and threatening them with more and more and more oppression on the basis of fines, which is a corporate entity deal, trying to bankrupt the corporation. This is where terror and threats are coming in all across the world in different ways. Again, I was listening to a broadcast station today from London, just a snippet of it, saying that they've got pastors, teachers, etc., nurses that cannot protest anymore, because if they do, they risk being arrested, and that will mean they lose their jobs. So they can't even say anything. They're going to their employer. One teacher went to his employer and said, "Look, peaceful protest. If I go on it and get arrested, what will happen? Well, you will bring the name of the school into disrepute. You will lose your job." So this is the way it's going in different areas and different factions of the world. They're impacting it as best they can. The corporations are impacting the people who have to stand up. It's just when. So to answer your question again, Julie, the when, that's down to the people. The how, exactly like this. Hope, does that answer you? Does that answer you, Julie, dear sister?
It does. Yeah, it does. I also added the fact that we are planting seeds. So we have planted seeds all over the world about GPMS, and we're just waiting for those roots to settle and those seeds to bloom, and that will have a lot of the majority flowing into GPMS once all of those seeds kind of get their growth. So I definitely believe that we are on the right track. Thank you for all of your input.
Perfect. Mariana, you got your hand up.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a Paparikas. I wanted to answer also to Aurora, to Julie, and to Elizabeth, and to Elizabeth's dog, that apparently he wants to participate. I was thinking, yeah, our partners, in animal partners, will also consent, you know, because it's the future also, and they're coming as humans in the next one. So, but it's like I like to simplify and leave it here on record, though we already said it, that it comes to my mind all the time, the words of Carl Jung that says everything is about making the unconscious conscious. And it's in the unconscious realm that we know what we are, what we're here for, and what's all about. So it's slowly trying to bring, or rapidly, if it's divinely accepted, to bring all these concepts to our conscious, and that would be every human in the individual basis, doing that, trying to connect and make this unconscious conscious, that collectively we're doing just the same thing that is going to help us unite and raise our vibration without the need to consume. That for now we've been taught that the only way to live is to consume, because everything is corporate, everything is commercial. And I like to just remind us of what Lisa said something a while ago, saying, when did we think that we chose to make money, to invent money, or to invent, to have governments? When did we choose that? So it's like, now it doesn't even matter. It's just saying, if I just arrived to the planet today, would I choose that? No. Okay, so I stop choosing it right now. It doesn't matter what happened. and now it's like going to the basics. Everything's natural, everything is abundant. What's the natural abundant perspective of each human being? Because I see this ascension to 5D is just changing perspectives of things, and not only changing them, but taking them to the natural order. And everything that we've gone through and everything that we've learned, well, that we were forced to learn, was artificial and was made up, and it was all an illusion. Like when Elizabeth was saying, where does this come from? Well, there were some people that made something and then created a system so they could just install that new belief. It's just that, and we just now have to just see that all that was just an illusion, because they already put in every human being that is born, they already put an amount of how much that human being is worth. So they say, okay, each human being in my country that is born is worth like $5 million. So that's what I have, like as a monopoly, you know, kind of game. They say, so I have these chips, this is the value that I'm putting them, and now we're going to do this, and we're going to convince them that, and we just believed the wrong source, that it was outside source. So now we have to go back to the natural, that is the inside source. Who would know better about anything about your life? You do. The thing is that what we think are actually not our thoughts, are the thoughts that were put into us of what we would need to do, what would we need to be. And I feel that now it's the moment to go inside and to bring more into our consciousness of what we are. And all we can do is, when you realize that, when everybody got like some good news or some big news, you just want to share them. So it's just to share them. And also to get into the other questions, it's like when I'm sharing them and I see the questions that I get, and they say, it's because it's all about unity. If we unite, when they say problems and they wouldn't like this, they wouldn't like that. Again, that Lee said the other day with this lovely doctors in Philippines, they're saying there are 114 million Philippines being handled, but less than 3,000 people. And I made like the calculation. I said it's almost 600,000 people that could deal with just one of those people saying, what you're doing. You know, it's the numbers are in our favor, the divinity is in our favor, it's everything, it's in our favor. So I guess that for now, it's like we just have to go inside and see what fears do we have of what we think we cannot do. Because again, when I was talking for one of the guys that we were taking all the furniture yesterday, and he said, yeah, but what about like and the criminals and everything? And I said, well, I just ask you this. If there's a criminal system and it's a police system and it's a judicial system, justice departments and defense, all of those things, they do exist because of crime. And it's like, don't you think that these ones are maintaining this so they can exist? So who is like to say who is manufacturing a crime? Well, the systems that had interest in having crimes. People are not interested in committing crimes in their hearts, in their souls. So I say, if we have a community without policemen, without anything, and something happens, we would be the best to deal with that and make sure that that never happens. And all people would know that we would not tolerate any harm to anything or anybody. So it's just trying to, at least like for myself, in my opinion, is trying to be as coherent as you can inside of you and still seeing the fears and communicating all that I'm like, even with my patients, I still call patients, but I just say, this is the road that I'm seeing, this is the right one, this is the divine one, this is the one we have to follow. How? We'll know each day. We can no longer plan so much ahead. That's what we did. And we don't even control that. And I also tell people we don't even control if we wake up in the morning. We could say we die every night, we become unconscious, disconnected from whatever, and then boom, we're again each morning in our own selves. Well, that's magical and divine. So why we don't feel that everything else could be magical and divine if it really is? That's what's really happening. We just have to see it to make it conscious. And as soon as we see it, then just share that. All of the fears. Crime is not natural. It's not. It was installed in this programming. So all we have to do is just unlearn. And then things will happen like naturally. We have a saying here in Argentina, it says, as when you're moving, the melons are just, arranging themselves. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to accommodate in a way that you think it's the best way. You just have to roll if you feel that in, and everything will just fall into place. And I see that talking about these things with people saying we're 600,000 to 1. So I don't care what that one thinks. We can do it. We just have to unite and trust ourselves. Yeah, well, it's not the easiest thing for the programming that we have, but we need to start looking for the files that have been programmed to delete them as soon as we can. And that's, I think, is the best that we can do every day. I see all the other things are just taken care of. And these little details, like saying we have a pH, the human body, that it's like a little 0.4 more and you're not having the best day. You're gonna not be able to move. You're too acidic, and it goes, everything goes to hell, the temperature. The same with the planet and the same with humans. We have 2 degrees more, no life. 2 degrees less, no life. So it's so finely tuned. We can see the earth is in the distance from the sun, that we don't freeze and we don't catch fire. Who is doing that? And what are we? Are we that? Because all is one? Because it's not, we're being incoherent. And that was, I'm going to leave you with this, the last talk that I had with my mom also, that she's very fond about the Virgin and everything. And I say, but do you feel that you are under Mother Mary's, robe? Because if you are, why you still fear? That's not coherent. So trying to serve those areas. But everything that we've been told, what are we going to do with this, all of these things that we don't know to do, we just have to not give energy to that anymore. That's the program. We don't know where it came from. And I say, I no longer care. I'm just looking from now on, how can we do the best? And putting, because the alternative, it's not even an alternative. The alternative would be extinction, and we know that's not going to happen. So apparently this is, and it's so beautiful to see all you here. Love you all. Julie, you look amazing. You all do.
Beautiful, beautiful. Right, let's move this on, this Q&A. So Jenny, have you got your hand up? I think you have.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
So I just wanted to, first of all, as a suggestion, and you may feel this is right or not, you were saying there about the emails, and for those people that want to become a contributor, then they can sign up for an email. I was wondering whether it would be also an idea to allow those people that don't necessarily want to contribute, but to still be able to sign up to the email, because I think as the momentum goes and they can see more people joining in that, then possibly that would activate them to also become contributors, if you like. So rather not only having it for the contributors. Does that make sense?
Perfect. And it will happen. So we're very, very close to having a new website layout, which is much, much easier and feminine orientated. So it's prettier as well, for want of a better word. It's a lot easier to scroll through. And what we will have is buttons. So you can tick here, tick here, tick here. And what you've just said is perfect. Yes, we can have a subscribe to the email list, tick the box. Why not? And there's a contributors list, which is easier than filling out the forms. You won't need to fill out the form anymore for a contributor. You just tick a box. And this will then link them to their GPMS teams in their countries, maybe. And and again, inside the contributors, then there's the stepping into the representatives for the country, which would come into the hub. So yes, what you're saying is absolutely plausible and will happen.
Good. And then, so sorry, I've got a couple of points here, if you don't mind. So what I'm finding is even in the awake movement. Community, yes, thank you. And people that are really believe in the power of manifestation and all of this, what I'm finding is that there's still, there's so many beautiful people, and I'm certainly speaking about in the UK, that are, trying to form these different communities. There's lots of little groups happening, but there isn't that unity together. And what I'm finding is that it's actually almost, there still is that holding on to like an ownership or a possession of that it's something that they are creating. They sort of can't see that they can still carry on doing what they're doing, but just bring the energy all in one. I'm battling to get that across to people, because they're all still trying to almost be the top of their movement, if you like. Or
the saviors. They're the saviors. We're doing this. We've seen it for a long time, and what we've realized to a certain degree up till now, especially experientially, is that the leaders aren't interested because they're the leaders. It's theirs, but the people are. So what we've worked, or certainly I have now, is to get to what we call rank and file, the people. And I sat with a governor in a city here, the first few days I was here, and sat with a governor and said to him, the system that you represent is at best malevolent, at worst evil. GPMS is the divine instrument, the deliverance, the rapture. You can give it to your people, or your people will find out and choose it themselves. That's where we are. So with the leaders, I don't If they're full of fear, they're full of fear. I spoke with a bishop. He's full of fear. He was trying to do business deals with us whilst we were speaking to him about how much he could make on the slave labor from Laos. It's craziness. But he represents 9 million in his churches. So we'll speak to the 9 million, not him. Again, it's very, very interesting how this is working. But what we've seen is the leaders aren't interested. They are egoic. They still have that ownership. It's mine. I'm doing this. And that doesn't contribute. That doesn't go forward. But this unity does. So we're watching the egos fall. And it seems to be the way to do that is to take the followers and change the followers' minds. It could be seen to be more long-winded, but if you look at the quality versus quantity, each choosing it, they're not following somebody into it. They are choosing it on an individual basis, which gives the energy that you speak to. If somebody just preaches to somebody, you must choose GPMS, are they really choosing it? Are they choosing their own freedom? So we're in this sort of quandary position right now, but I agree with you. There's a lot of this lack of unity, even though they speak to unity.
And sorry,
I'll just add a little bit for you, Jen, as well. Obviously, having dealing with the English and the Portuguese along the way in these communities and stuff like that. Talk to the money. Talk to the fact, because they're struggling to actually keep this community together financially, and they're coming off grid and everything else, and they're all struggling. Talk to the money with them, and talk to the and within that community there is always one soul. One soul. Just get to that one soul, because then the one soul will get to the rest.
I'd like to just add,
their community.
What you just said is, well, I lost where I was going with it. There's no reason why ones cannot keep doing what they're doing inside the banner of GPMS. And this is what we try to part to them is, we're not training. You don't have to stop what you're doing. Just open your sights to what is coming and continue doing what you're doing, but unleash or enhance your viewpoint, unlimit your limitations, and consider GPMS is already here. Keep doing what you're doing, knowing it's coming. And of course, then we get faced with the doubts and the other fears and the other thing. But that's not, again, what Julie said a bit earlier. Seeds planted, fertilize the soil, plant the seed, walk away. And this is what we've been doing for the last 2+ years as it stands. As Dean said a bit earlier, the energy is changing out there. People are more open. So we're seeing that definitely. Much more people are open, not the leaders, but the people. They believe it can happen now.
Just give him the love, Jenny. Just give him the love in the moment. Sometimes that little bit of love that you give to that individual, all of a sudden they're in fight or flight mode. You've given them a little bit of love. Some guidance has come through for you to speak something, and the next minute they're smiling. The next minute they're feeling your energy. The next minute they're going, okay, I can feel Jenny's energy. This must be right.
Yeah, resonance.
So I'm all about energy and all about love. And in particular, when I'm speaking, what I'm finding really interesting is I do healing work, and I belong to a group that does quantum regression work, and so they very much there in terms of accessing higher timelines and bringing down, but they're very focused on that individual manifestation, and even ones within the group have the vision. It's the exact same vision of what GPMS is, in terms of what they, by 2027, he has this vision of, creating this all abundant. And so I was trying to put across, yes, but this is already happening. This is already a mechanism for that. But I noticed that none of the people that I shared this link with are on this call today, so it obviously didn't get through them.
See, again, this is how silly it is. In some of these groups, you've got somebody who'll say in 2027, we say in 2023, and they'll believe the 2027. It's, what do you do to change that? You don't. They're following somebody else's voice and they're not following their own intuition. That's okay. We see that. I will openly say to any group, any leadership out there, come and speak, or you'll join later. You can join now, or you'll join later. You know, this is happening. This is divine. This is rapture, deliverance, whatever it is you wish to call it from whatever book you read. But it's inevitable. It's undeniable with what's going on, unless you close your eyes and put your head in the sand and go, no, 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 no. Anybody can see on a world stage, even in a country stage, that things are developing badly to the point of oppression and malevolence and outright evil. Starting little breakaway groups in those countries does nothing. It may satiate your needs, and it may make you feel divine and holy on your holier than thy mantle for a period of time, but it's not progressive. This is join now or join later. And again, what Julie said is, when will it happen? Well, when we lose this need to own and feel that we are doing something, when we can do it all together. And like you just said, those ones that are trying to manifest on an individual level, really, is that service to self, or is that service to others? And what is it that you've learned through your spiritual teachings? Service to self or service to others? Which one's more important? So we're seeing priorities moving. We're seeing that shifting, certainly in the rank and file, as I call people as it stands. But this is an outright call to the leaders. Join now or join later. Your choice.
Perfect. And then I've just got one more question. Sorry, I don't mean to hold the floor here. I'm originally from South Africa, as you might have heard from my accent. And so you were talking into those people that don't have internet and are really out in the rural areas and so forth. And so just on a logistic level, upon inception, if those people, like, how would they get their funding?
Right. Let's start this. Let's take this back and let's work what I call retroductive logic. So when we get to inception, by this time, we're in the region of 5 to 6 billion human souls that have joined. Now, we consider from conceptually that inception will come and most won't know about it. That's never going to be the case. By the time we get to 1 billion, 2 billion, everybody on the planet near us will know about GPMS, and it's coming. These communities would have already been reached by others, and anything that we need to have in place will be in place by the GPMS teams in those countries. Yes, there may be some outliers that need to be reached, but these will not be a main faction. They will be a small percentage that will just inevitably be reached. So we've got to consider with this that as the voice grows of GPMS, so does the information being released. And at a certain point in time, all social media and all internet and all mainstream media will be reporting on the upcoming GPMS. Now, again, logistically with the numbers, I've got a place in the Philippines right now. I believe tomorrow we'll have 4 or 5 individuals turn up here with laptops. There's many names that they've got that are already involved in what they call the National People's Initiative. They've all been informed of GPMS. They've agreed. We've got a team set up here that will be inputting their information for them because they haven't got access themselves. And this is indigenous communities, etc. This is the same kind of thing that happened in Thailand, but slightly different. So this will happen, and these names will be garnered and gathered from these outlying villages that don't have access, and they will be included on the way to inception. So we've got to remember, as the voice grows, so does the information streams, and so does the worldwide knowledge, if you will. And any of these outlying villages, communities will be reached. We accept there will be a few that we won't be able to get to or might not be able to get to, but very, very small relative. And they will be quickly reached straight afterwards.
Perfect. Thank you. And then just also with reference to South Africa as well, and they, you know, I'm not very good at public speaking, so please excuse me if I'm stammering.
Doing great.
You're doing great, Jenny. You're doing great.
You're doing wonderful.
In South Africa, you were talking about the distrust, and there is certainly, if a message is coming from a Caucasian person, it is immediately distrusted. So in terms of getting the message out to South Africans, it would be really helpful to get people of color as representatives to be able to just allow people to hear the message before they cut it off. But also there are huge areas in South Africa that are like shanty towns, basically, township areas, but they are vast areas. And so for me, at this stage of GPMS, I absolutely 100% know that it's gathering the energetics consent of everybody, and that in itself is going to manifest the creation. You know, it is about bringing it down and letting it up to the divine. But when talking to people, they do want to know the hows. And so even with that huge township, you know, the first thing that people will say is, well, first of all, there's not even enough, well, I say there's not enough land. Of course, there's enough land for everybody. But, you know, they've been promised houses. They've been promised all these things. You know, it's really difficult to, and also a lot of them they don't have a concept of the future, because it's really difficult in these countries where they are literally just surviving the day. You know, the crime is horrific, the violence is horrific. So, you know, the concept of the future doesn't really come into their field. And they can't also really understand how they're going to receive this when so much has been promised to them before. So it's just on that score, it's also difficult to try and get that message that actually you just need to, you know, just need to say, I choose it at this point.
Perfect. And I'll say this openly, and I know Brother Rick will come in afterwards with a more divine or with a higher aspect to this, but I'll put this out from a higher aspect too. The ones that we've spoken to, many are carrying no value. They're carrying no worth. They have nothing inside. They mistrust, distrust. They are loveless. They are just in fear. And I get that. That has to be released. So this idea of how must be released into bring it on. Let's work with it. Let's build it. Of course, that won't be in the case because they distrust, because they've had many false promises in the past. This isn't the past. This is now, and this is unprecedented. The people of South Africa will not join until they lose their fear and they stand up. The people in Africa won't join until they lose their fear and stand up. This is our message. It certainly is my message to those people over there, and they are finding it difficult. They're finding it difficult to share with their brothers and sisters. We speak to many of color over there, and all they want is a handout from the West. They don't believe that they're worth more than that. And, you know, okay, be like that. Live another day like you are in your distrust and lack of faith and lack, you know, your fears. That's okay. You must release that before you come into GPMS. So what we're witnessing in South Africa is no, they will not unite because they are so fearful. They have no value within. They have to put that back in and carry themselves as more of a divine authority. Until that time, then they will literally live like they are. So yes, exactly. It's very, very difficult to speak with people in Africa, no matter South Africa. We've got Boers down there that think that they've got the answer because they're the Boers. You know, we can speak with one or two of them, but the rest aren't interested because they've got their own solution. So the lower timeline collapses and their solution fails. They will come on board eventually when they've released that angst and that anger. It's what we're witnessing and what we have witnessed. And I don't get any pleasure out of saying this, but it's fact. Brother, would you like to add anything?
Yes, thank you, Lee. You know, with this also, Jenny, we only need the worldwide majority, which means just over half of the world's population. So you're going to have holdout groups, perhaps, and that doesn't matter. Anyone getting the message out, we keep giving it to those that will accept it, and we put our energetics, you know, towards that. And the bigger that GPMS gets, you know, not only is it a very tangible, real hope be an actualized vehicle, it also has the energetic effects of creation. And this is why things just happen so quickly and organically, even before inception. And it's quite possible that, let's say, that there could be a catalytic viral point of, let's say, just having 50 million into GPMS might just kick it off to overnight to be to 7 billion, if you will. Things can happen also so quickly. So we just need, which we're doing, keep our focus on those that are in aligned, because factually, we only need 51% of the world's population, and we just, focus it there. With any concerns worldwide that ones have, with land, I don't know the exact figure, but when you consider worldwide the amount of inhabitable, or let's say non-arid, whatever the right term is, land like deserts and what have you, that's already changing. You're seeing it in the news with plants beginning to grow in deserts. But not only this, when money is no longer an object upon the planet, under all these deserts are aquifers of water, and they're already bringing it up in Saudi Arabia. They've been doing that for years, that there is water also, underneath all of these deserts. So having said this, you can turn every desert in the world overnight to an oasis when you take the object, when money becomes no longer an object and a hindrance to that. So with what they would consider a shortage of land, when you take the vast amount and whatever percentage that may be of the habitable land, and you turn that all now into a very habitable arid land, these are also the instant things that occur. So again, with any that are holding out, we don't need them, until they're ready, but they're going to accept gifts. If you have let's say a village of a couple thousand that did not agree with GPMS, but once we have the majority, you come in and put in, let's say, palletfuls of lumber, supplies, food, and just putting it at their doorstep, and they will take it and they will see it. And with this, no one gets left behind. Once we have the majority, all of the souls upon the planet, they are all included in this. We just need the lawful majority, so that what we're doing is, it cannot be contested worldwide. And it's not a fantasy as well. This is why it's a tangible thing that is being constructed, that one see that it's very valid. It is very real. And, it's been designed this way that everyone knows the power of the majority vote. And in this case, because of the fraudulent voting upon the world, we are just doing this universally. And when all the people decide, it's done. I'll stop there. I got to step out for a moment. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I've not been to Philippines before, and I've seen what's happening in Manila, and how much investment's going into shopping malls and certain things, and how much isn't going into the people. I spoke with one of the tribal leaders at Daku and said to him, effectively, if we put you in charge of Manila, you had unlimited money, and everybody paid themselves, but you paid $10,000 each to every man, woman, and child. How long do you think it would take before the people rebuilt Manila? And he could see what it was that I meant. There is no monetary obstacle anymore. There is none of the old obstacles. There is no regulations per se. There is just benevolence working freely. How long will it take? Do you think the people will help you do it for you? $10,000? You know, they've got no worries about money now. They've just got a choice to make their cities as best as they can make them without any limitation. And you could see them get it. You know, they were working. Yeah, that makes sense. So these ones with fear, these ones that live in, I've been to South Africa a little bit and I've seen the shanties, and it's not just South Africa that contain those areas. They are all over the world. And yes, those in there will not be able to see because they haven't seen what is available all around the world and they haven't known anything except poverty. But that's no reason to fear abundance. So whilst they fear abundance, and I honestly believe that humanity in general fears freedom at this point, but that has to be broken, and the lower timeline is doing its utmost to show people that they don't require those shackles anymore. Yeah.
May I say something else? When it came to my mind the image now that it's been like we've been inside of a prison cell, and somebody you don't know is opening the gate or giving you the key, and you go like, no, because this is all that I know. So it's out there. I don't know how to do things out there, how to be out there. I don't know. It's like, I will stay here, but here's the key. But that's also not a reason for us to stop giving the keys, or to say, I'm not going to give the key to the one that it's in the back, just in fetal position, crying because he's clearly not going to be able to see it. Well, I don't care. I'm going to give it to all. Then they have actually, for the first time, freedom to choose, because we never had so far. We thought we were, but it was inside of a programming that there is no choice at all. It's just programming of what needs to be done, what you have to do, what you must do as a good citizen. And I think all is changing, because here we have also the same kind of situations as Lee says, it's all over the world. And I've divinely been in South Africa, and be as an Argentinian, and with my personality, I talk to everyone. And I go into the worst place. It's like nobody goes, like I just go, what is this? And I just go in. And I see that the people that I say, no, they're not going to talk to you because you're a woman and you're white. Oh, well, I'm sorry, but I need to talk. So if they don't want to, they can just, do like this. But I still talk because I don't see the difference. They may think that, but I don't, black, white, whatever, child, dog, tree, ant, whatever. I'll treat everybody the same. That's my choice. So also in the speech, also, I'm all the time trying to correct what I say when I say, no, my baby, he's not going to be interested. Oh, correct, cancel, correct. It's not, I don't know if he's going to be, I'm interested in speaking. Yeah, well, that's what I'll do. And then the other one will decide. But I will not keep saying, negative things or saying, yeah, I don't care anymore.
I got told the other day that the Chinese government would never allow this in China, and nor would the Singaporean government. And my answer to them is, why not? This is benevolence for all of humanity. What do you mean the government won't allow it? Surely they want benevolence. They're public servants. It's just, people will come up with all of the reasons why not, and not necessarily, of course, the reasons why. As Mariana just said, it is a prison syndrome. You are safe in your prison, and humanity have learned to survive in hell. That's testament to humanity. I am amazed at the resilience of humanity to remain in hell as if it's not hell. But that's deception. Again, it's been incredible across this journey over the last couple of years, how people can survive or choose to, or wish to, because this is all they know. And when you offer something different, there's fear. But we know why, and that fear must be seen and it must be released. So we go onwards, knowing that this comes to fruition. I still believe it comes to fruition this year. We will see.
And it's nice also that the last thing, to just leave those questions, not just giving, okay, this will be like this, but questions saying, if you're with your family having dinner and you have a child starving at your door, what would you do? Would you offer food? And every human with a heart would say, well, of course. So why are you giving energy and supporting other systems that don't care about that? Because we care. So we don't tolerate, we have to be also very aware of the choices we're making and what are we supporting actually, because maybe we're saying one thing and then we're doing another one. It happens.
So what we're dealing with is many, many, many levels of consciousness, and each one of us has got different messages for different levels of consciousness right now. And it's beautiful how this interacts with all. My messaging won't suit some others, and Dean's messaging won't suit the people I speak to. But this doesn't matter. What we're doing is hitting them all. And this is what we found ongoing. So it's actually beautiful. Now, I know that Brother Dean has moved into the consciousness level with the love. I speak to the obvious common sense, and I show the illogical nature in the evil system, and that must be rejected. It doesn't, with different levels of consciousness, we impact different people, and this is different seeds. So how we walk this ongoing is we keep gathering those together with a different message, which impacts different levels of consciousness again, and increases those and allows for others to move into that space. And we keep doing this, and we keep lifting. And this is what we've seen. So what's happening is a fall back and a rise, a fall back and a rise, a fall back and a rise. And we're at a point where it just explodes. But I couldn't say when. It's just getting closer. Brother, your hand is up.
Thank you, brother. I was listening to the whole conversation. I'd like to add a couple points.
Two seconds, my friend. Sorry, Christine Barron. I see your hand is up. Just let Brother Rick finish, and I'll come straight to you. Carry on, brother.
Thank you. I'll make this quick. Let's take what Lee said about China, that China would not allow it. When we look worldwide at all of the political parties, if you will, in power, that number comes to about 47,000 individuals. And I'm uncertain, perhaps it's less than a couple thousand in China, with a population of 1.6 billion or million, or 1.6 billion. These a couple thousand cannot make choices for the billions. And the other important factor with this, with any country's military and police enforcement, the governments cannot give the police and the militaries the full security what GPMS does, so they cannot compete as well. So what you see during the course of this, that these government structures right at this moment are fully disempowered as well, because GPMS exists. Now, one other thing, I'll take this a little bit further. It needs to be fully realized, the ultimate power of the GPMS money, meaning that it is based on unlimited intrinsic value. So right at this moment, even though we're not into implementation, it is the strongest form of currency exchange ever known. And nothing can compete with it because it's unlimited. It does not need an external resource to print it. It is not ledgers with it. It does not have to be accounted for. It does not have to be recorded. It is full open flow, and no currency upon the planet can compete with it. They have to submit to it. And this is very important. And I'll add on right now with the Philippines, some of the huge numbers that Lee was mentioning, with perhaps, let's say 10, 20, 30 million that are standing in this absolute ultimate intrinsic place of the ability to show the unlimited worth worldwide, very quickly as well. Nothing can compete nor contest with it. So the bigger these numbers get, and it's already, I've been seeing, worldwide, it's already beginning to affect the numbers coming into GPMS, even from what I monitor and what I gauge with part of what I do is when we take big movements forward, like Lee is saying, big steps, it gets reflected into the whole. And where we're at right now with GPMS, this is so important with the Philippines, brothers and sisters there, but also they are organized as as we said, and very quickly know the power of what this is. So there is no obstacles, once again, with GPMS. And, you know, ones may have misconceptions, and that is because of their levels of fear, if you will. And very quickly, Jenny, what I'll say, you know, with these ones with building their communities, looking for investors and what have you, they're finding it hard because the old system is strapping even the investors. There's a huge uncertainty out there. So the most sensible thing for any that are attempting to do these communities is to gather all into GPMS, because once we have the majority vote in the inception, all of these communities are fully funded with unlimited money. So it makes the most absolute sense. We do this, we take the control, lawful control of the system, then there are no obstacles for you. The longer, though, that you wait, all of these light communities and ventures worldwide, you're not going to get anywheres, because the system will not allow you to do it. So it becomes nonsensical for them to say, no, we'll try a parallel system or what have you, because the true problem upon the planet is who owns and operates the financial distribution routing system and the internet. And that is not in control of the people yet. So anyone that tries to do something, it's fruitless to do it, and it's an absolute waste of time. So the most common sense to do, let's take the proper ownership of it and do all of the GPMS stuff and make everything available to everyone and eradicate poverty worldwide instantly and forever, never to be seen again.
Let's use the word universal nation right now. Divine universal nation. We don't even need to use divine. Let's just use universal nation. So these that are creating these subgroups and subdivisions, join the universal nation, and you've got a universal backing. This is the point. Jenny, did that answer that for a minute? I know,
Yes,
you know.
Thank you. And just to add to Rick's thing about how difficult they're finding it, because there's a lot of people that are obviously scrambling to buy land to create these, off-grid communities. However, what is happening is that there's corporations that are buying up all the land on blind auctions before anyone can even get their bids in. So it's fruitless for them trying to go down that route.
As we've said to many before, who owns the land? Where's the title? Where's Gaia's titles that says you can own the land? So these ones that are buying them on blind auctions are basically buying them from who? Government seized land, which isn't theirs to sell. Again, it's all an obfuscation on that lower timeline where corporations and corporate rule, which is, we can call it capitalism, Stalinism, no, sorry, communism, whatever's going on in the isms inside this corporate structure isn't for humanity, it's pure evil. So we remove all of that with GPMS. So all of the land becomes guardian, the people become the guardians of the land. And again, what I'll openly say is that you can join now and be leaders of your country, or you can join later and be rank and file of your country. It's which you choose. Each will have their role.
I'll add another layer into that, Jenny, that we're not thinking about either. Most of them souls that are moving to the lands are awakened, and what they're doing is avoiding their conscious journey that little bit more by sitting on their lands and keeping busy, rather than sitting still and allowing their conscious journey to expand further. And also, coming back to what you were saying before in regards to a lot of souls out there that are talking consciousness, but they're not fully embodying it yet.
There's a lot with the knowledge, and there's the embodiment process is being postponed, let's say, by those that wish to. Again, no judgment, just a fact. And it's all divine, so we know it's ongoing, and it will pass. until now. It could be seen to be frustrating. It probably was for a while at the beginning, but we understand.
Perfect. Thank
Understand
you.
for those that need to.
I've got a dash, but it was so lovely seeing you all and speaking to you all. Much
We'll host
blessing.
more. We'll host more and more of these as we move forward. Thank you so much, Jenny. Christine, Christine Barron, you have your hand up. Would you like to ask a question? I know it's been a while since you put your hand up, my dear, but are you there, Christine? Would you like to ask a question? Okay, maybe not. 2 hours in, has anybody else got anything they'd like to say, add a question, or anything that they would like to contribute?
Would anyone from India wish to contribute or bring questions to the table as well? We've got a lot of brothers and sisters from India on the call, and they haven't come up to speak at all.
No, okay. Just for our brothers and sisters in India, I'm sure we will host another GPMS Team India meeting in the not too distant. Brother Pritam, I know, is working very, very hard over there, and there has been some upheaval in India, let's say, for want of a better word. Divine assistance has been sent, I believe. Brother Rick informed us of that the other day, for our brothers and sisters in India. So we will have a meeting very shortly where, again, Team India can come on and have more of their voice heard. So if you're not willing to or don't wish to at this point, we'll have another conversation very shortly as to what's going on in India. Okay, so if nobody else has got any questions, or anybody, this is a Q&A rather than a GPMS input, pretty much call it a day, I think. And I'm sure we'll host another one of these open Q&As in the not too distant, and hopefully we'll get more involved. Not hopefully, I trust we'll get more involved divinely in those.
Yeah, indeed, as we go forward.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Elizabeth. Yeah. As we go forward, we don't tend to so much schedule when we have, these sort of meetings or what have you. So having said that, divinely, when it calls for another public Q&A, then we will have it. And yeah, so let's just keep this simple and wrap it up, perhaps, and we keep going forward, and everyone should be so delighted and happy. We're so close to getting it done. We truly are, And
love and light to everybody. Thank you so much. We got this. It's just when, not if.
love, light, and gratitude. Have an amazing morning, day, or night.
Thank you all.